Hey, how's it going, ChiefsRaysBolts here, joined alongside A's, Raiders, Dubs, Sharks, coming back at you. It's that time of year again. It's exciting. It's playoffs. It's NFL playoffs. Nothing better than this, in my opinion. So, how we feeling, Case? I know the Raiders aren't in it this year. Sorry, man, but how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a disappointing season for my team, considering the high expectations. But always loved the NFL playoffs. We've done 3 years of this now, including this year, and I've been in it once, and so that was a fun experience last year. But yeah, it sucks not being in it, but I think we're gonna have the most eventful offseason of any team. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to the playoffs. Gonna be a lot of like young QBs, and it's gonna be really exciting.
Okay, speaking of that, really quickly, just as a side note, A, do you expect the Raiders to sign Tom Brady? B, do you want Tom Brady?
I have mixed feelings about it because we do have an early draft pick, but I feel like there aren't that many great quarterbacks in this draft. There's like CJ Stroud from Ohio State and Bryce Young from Alabama. But I feel like other than that, there's not that many that catch my eye. So I think honestly, like we'll see what happens in the draft, but I expect news to come before then. I think with Tom Brady, he's kind of hit or miss. Like, yeah, he did change the Bucks to a Super Bowl contender, but he's not looking that good now. So I don't know. And there's also talks of Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Lamar Jackson possibly like prospects for the Raiders. So we'll see what happens. But whatever happens, I just want a QB that can change the direction of this team, whether it be Brady or a rookie. So we'll see.
We will see, but the Raiders are the rumored team right now for Brady's landing spot, so it'll be an interesting
Yeah.
offseason. But not quite to the offseason yet, thankfully. We are just beginning the playoffs. They actually start tomorrow at the time of recording this video, so you'll probably see this upload, well, tomorrow, which is today for the viewer. But,
Yeah.
Saturday upload, there's the Saturday games. I believe the first game is Jags-Chargers, is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Or are they the night game? I don't really remember. But anyways, we can go ahead and talk about Jags Chargers real quick. Let's do this in order of like I guess the days that the teams are playing. So we have Jags Chargers first day. That's actually the night game. Second game of tomorrow. But we'll just start off with that. Jags Chargers, man. All right, who we got? Who we got?
I'm gonna go ahead and come out here with the Jaguars winning. And I know this is a game that really could go either way, but I'm just gonna say it. I think the Jags are gonna win. I just feel like the Chargers announcing that Mike Williams not playing, I feel like he's gonna really hurt them. I think he's their best receiver this year. I mean, Keenan Allen's great too, but I think the Jags just have momentum right now. I think that's the thing. I think honestly, like the Chargers, I think are probably a more complete team, but I think the Jags. I mean, they're hyped. This is a year that that's really been special to them. I got the Jags winning, but I think it's gonna be a low scoring game, but also close. I'm gonna give me like 13-10 final score. Like
13 to
good defensive
10.
play. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you. I am
yeah,
taking the Jaguars. I'll just say that right now for a multitude
yeah.
of reasons. First reason being, I think the Jags are one of the hottest teams in football as of right now. I mean,
Mhm.
they just ended their season since they lost to the Chiefs in week 10. They went, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. 6-1, including a 5-game win streak to end their season. So the Jags haven't lost in 6 weeks. Almost 7 now that we're in the playoffs, but they're one of the hottest teams undeniably in football. They no like December 1st, maybe even like late November, there was no chance the Jags had to make the playoff. Like it was just done for them. Good luck next year, your season's over. Nobody thought the Jags could come back in this thing, but it took a really well put together performance consistently week in week out for Doug Peterson and the Jags, along with a total detrimental collapse on the Tennessee Titans side of the football. Those two factors combined, and now you have one of the hottest teams in football winning the division at 9-8 and hosting a playoff game in the wild card against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, let's take a look at this real quick, right? The Jags already beat the Chargers this year. It wasn't in Jacksonville, it was in SoFi. Not only did they beat the Chargers, my friend, they gave them an absolute ass whooping. It wasn't even close. I believe 38-10 was the final, and that was with completely healthy rosters. I think. I could be wrong. I don't know about the Chargers. They've been injury prone all year, and that was back in like week 5 maybe. I don't really remember, but they were just it was a shock to me that oh my god, the Jacksonville Jaguars just blew them out in their own house. It's different this time because A, now it's in Jacksonville, and B, Staley's an idiot. Staley is an absolute idiot. The head coach for the Chargers. Why on earth are you starting your entire starting roster in a meaningless game? You knew prior to kickoff that you were locked into the 5 seed. There was no reason at all to play the starters. And when the Chargers took field, and I saw Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Bosa, like, all out there, I'm like, what on earth are you doing? What are you doing? You're locked into a seed. You gain nothing. You can only lose from this situation. And what was hilarious, just to add comedy to the whole damn thing, they lost the game to the Broncos. And you could say, like, oh, well, they put their backups in the fourth quarter. You were still losing. You were still going to lose that game. I can't believe that they actually started Herbert, Bosa, Mike Williams, and now you pay for it. The football gods gave you a prime opportunity. They gifted you a bye week. The football gods, they gifted you a bye week. You were locked into a seed prior to kickoff. Rest your starters. It's a free bye week. What are you doing? No. They put everybody out there for the first three quarters plus a couple more minutes into the fourth. They gifted you. Yeah. You were gifted a bye week and you didn't take it. And as a result, you pay. Mike Williams has been ruled out for the wild card weekend. And Staley, that's how you get fired. That is how you get fired as a head coach, is doing stupid shit like that. I couldn't believe it. I don't know what is going through your mind, but that is how you get fired in the NFL, by doing stuff like that. I don't get it. And you can say what you want about, like, oh, well, Bosa, he's going to play. Yeah, but he got hurt in that game too last week. He was clearly doing some kind of stretch in relation to his groin. He's going to be easily tweaked, right? Now he's going to be probably on a limited snap count because you have to be careful. And even if you do play him to his full potential, aka every snap, you're only more injury prone since you're more vulnerable to tweaking your injury that you just got last week. It's just a really, really dumb decision by the Los Angeles Chargers and Staley for even considering putting the starters in last week, and now you pay for it. You were gifted a free bye week, you didn't take it, now you pay for it. I'm taking the Jags by at least 20. I don't even care. Jags already won this year against the Chargers in SoFi. This time it's in Jacksonville. Chargers are even more banged up than they were before. Jacksonville's even hotter than they were before. It's not going to be a pretty game for the Chargers. That's just what I'm going to say.
No, those are some good points. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be two quarterbacks making their playoff debuts. And, yeah, I mean, I think the Chargers, the only way they actually have a chance to be in this game is utilizing Austin Eckler to, like, the best of his abilities, because obviously the wide receiver core just being depleted, not having Mike Williams, is just going to be really hard. So, yeah, I completely agree on Staley. I mean, he's made bad decisions before, and I feel like this one was just, like, you know, just a great observation, like, of just, you know, the utter, like, foolishness of playing those guys. I just don't really see the point when you're, like you said, locked and loaded into a playoff game. So, absolutely.
All right, so both of us taking the Jaguars. I think, you know, for the record books, I'll go ahead and write this down. Next game, It's the only other Saturday game. It is Niners-Seahawks. It's the first game of the playoffs, and this is a toss-up to me. I can see this going either way, kind of. I mean, it depends. I want to say, and I'm going to fact check this real quick, I want to say Seattle got swept in the regular season of the 49ers. And I wouldn't be surprised because the 49ers, they're pretty damn dominant. So Let me just go ahead and find this real quick. But while I do, I think if it is the case that the Seahawks did lose both games to the Niners, loss. So yes, they got swept. First game was in week 2. It was 27-7. The second game was only a couple weeks ago, week 15. It was 21-13, so substantially closer than week 2 was, and I don't know where that game was played, but it doesn't matter because this is what matters. You got swept to a team. Very rarely does a team beat the same team 3 times in the same season. It's rare. I don't care how good one team is and how bad the other one is. If you're playing a third time, it means you're meeting up in the playoffs. And I'm going to tell you what, Seahawks could very well lose this game. They could very well lose it by a big margin. But the Seahawks are going to put up a fight. I'll tell you that much. Seahawks, I think, will make it a lot closer than people are expecting. I think most people are expecting a 49er blowout. Niners are arguably the best defense in the league, as they have been for the last couple of years. And I don't know, man. I mean, the Niners, they're poised for another long playoff run, as they typically are. But you got to look at Brock Purdy, man. I mean, listen, you could give out all the stats you want about how amazing he's been as a late pick, last pick quarterback, a rookie quarterback at that. But you got to look at the team around him, man. You got Christian McCaffrey, dude. You just hand the ball off to him as many times as you do. And then you have that just insanely good defense on the Niners. How much does Brock Purdy really have to do to contribute to a win? I really don't think it's that much. I don't think he has to play an amazing game for the Niners to win. They're just a stacked team at the end of the day. I think you throw Derek Carr, apologize if that's offensive, you could throw Derek Carr on that team, and I think he goes on the same run Purdy does. I think Niners still win all those games.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, like you said, I mean, I think it's going to be a close game, and it's interesting because, yeah, week 2 is when they play it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it Jimmy G or Trey Lance? One of them two was playing. And so they won big. And then, of course, Purdy just on this huge run right now in the midst of joining what was a win streak already. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely going to be a good game. I do have the Niners winning. I feel like that's just the safer pick. I'm not going to go with picking an upset on this one per se because I feel like the Niners have just had such a good run. What is it, 9 or 10 games in a row they've won now? I think it's 9. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, like there's been, like you said, I think their weakness is the fact that the quarterback position isn't entirely important to them. Not to say quarterback isn't important, but how good the quarterback might be. I mean, Brock Purdy, don't get me wrong, he's doing a phenomenal job for a guy who was thrown into a really hard position to play. But I totally agree, and I do think the Niners in a couple of games, I mean, as a Raiders fan, I am biased, but I do think the game they played against the Raiders was pretty rough for them. Even though they did win in overtime, they very well could have lost. And I think that was kind of indicative of Brock Purdy making some mistakes and his team not always supporting him. But I completely agree. Niners defense is elite. They've got great pieces. I mean, we'll see. I think Deebo Samuel will probably play. I mean, he's been kind of on and off with injuries. But they still have Brandon Ayuk, who's having a great season. I mean, as for Seattle, they're kind of having a Cinderella story season 2 with Geno kind of like coming out of nowhere. So we'll see what happens whenever these two teams play. I feel like it's a very competitive game. It's a rivalry game as well. So we'll see what happens. I just think, yeah, I mean, Niners having a home game, I just don't think that they're going to lose this one. I have them winning, but I don't think they're going to win by a crazy amount. I'd say 1 to 2 touchdowns maximum.
You know, I just looked it up because you mentioned that they've been on a crazy win streak. I didn't realize, like, I know they've been winning a lot. I didn't realize that the last time they lost was week 7 against none other than your Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, that was the last game they lost, and that was a blowout. It was 44-23, one of the most complete games the Chiefs had played. But wait until you hear this. They're 13-4 this year, yeah? They lost to the Chiefs. You want to take a guess of who the other 3 teams they lost to were? Somehow, someway, in week 1, they lose to the Chicago Bears, who had the worst record in football at the end of the season, the number 1 overall pick. In week 3, they lose to the Denver Broncos 11-10, and then in week 6, they lose to the Atlanta Falcons 28-14. So this is just, you could say, like, listen, that's early in the season, but that, oh man, how are you going to lose to them? The Falcons, the Broncos, and the Bears. Those are your 3 out of 4 losses. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bad. But yeah. As far as the Seahawks game goes, dude, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take the 49ers in this game, only because they're just on paper a lot better than the Seahawks. But don't be surprised if the Seahawks pull out a win here, because I know I won't be. Beating the same team 3 times in the same season, not an easy accomplishment. So the Niners will definitely have to earn it, and it's just, is Brock Purdy ready for this stage? Is he ready for the playoff lights? We'll see.
Yeah. Definitely
So
agree. I mean,
go on.
another guy was his playoff debut, and I'm sure Geno Smith. I mean, maybe I think he's been backups in as a quarterback, but I think he's making his playoff start as well, debut. So that's every quarterback we've talked about so far is new to this show, and we'll see how they rise to the occasion.
First Sunday game is going to be Dolphins Bills, and the Dolphins are without Tua Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa, you know what I mean. It's a
Yeah,
hard name to pronounce. They're without Tua. I don't even know the name of the backup.
he's a rookie. I
He's a
think.
rookie. That's why I don't know his name. I
Yeah,
never even, you know. But the Dolphins, they sneak into the playoffs last minute, um, after being, I believe they were the last remaining undefeated team at one point in this league. No, that was the Eagles. I think they were the last remaining AFC undefeated team at one point. I think they started 5 or 6-0, or maybe it was 4-0. They started really hot and just fell off a cliff, and you could blame that on Tua's doctors. I mean, what the hell is going on in Miami with the whole? It's like every other week he's getting concussed again. I don't even know what's happening there, but you can't blame Tua for that. You feel for the guy, but I don't even. What is the name of the quarterback playing for
Skylar
the
Thompson.
What is it?
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson. Okay, so there you go. Skylar Thompson. Can he defeat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs despite being a rookie? No. No, he cannot. This is my absolute lock of the week. There is nobody beating the Bills in round one, even though they're only playing one team. But the Dolphins, no shot. No shot. It's gonna be a quick and painful death for the Dolphins. I mean, it's just gonna be over at halftime, I think. I mean, Dolphins could maybe play close in the first two quarters, string something together, and have people on the edge of their seat. But the reality is that, in the light of the whole Damar Hamlin situation, and the fact that the Dolphins are without Tua, there's just no way. There's no way the Bills lose this game.
Yeah, completely agree. And that's the fifth quarterback we've talked about that's, new to the playoffs. It really, I mean, really interesting how this is all playing out with injuries. But yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think honestly for the Bills, if you're a Bills fan, you'd have to be worried if you're not winning by more than like 30 points in this game because you're pretty much given like a first round bye, honestly. Like it's just I know it's obviously things can happen, but I mean, we're one of the best teams in the AFC versus a team like you said got in last minute and now doesn't have their franchise quarterback, their first round quarterback they got a couple years ago who was drafted to take them to places like this. So of course, yeah, I think it's definitely disappointing for the Dolphins. Any chance of upsetting is sort of gone there. We'll see what happens. I mean, it would be interesting if they somehow could make it close, but like you said, I mean, in light of everything that's been going on with Buffalo, I think like they're very much motivated right now. They want to, obviously they have chips on their shoulder too, being a team that I feel like always makes it so close and can't really finish. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the Bills are moving on pretty easily, like you said, like at least 30 points, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah.
I'd say it might be closer if Tua was playing, but even then, I'm still taking the Bills just because, you can't. It's just this is how every story goes ever when there's some major thing happening that sparks inspiration in a team, and you just take Damar Hamlin, man, and there's just no way that the Bills are going to let him down in their first round after all that. It's not happening. So the Bills are winning, and you said you're taking the Bills too, and you're taking the Niners
Yeah.
over the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all 3 for 3, same page so far.
Yeah.
So that is the first of the Sunday games. The second of the Sunday games will be the 3 seed Vikings versus the 6 seed Giants.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe picking an upset here just because I feel like there's got to be at least one upset. Because, okay, like the Vikings, don't get me wrong, they're having a great season. but they've had a lot of kind of dismal games. But that comeback was sort of what makes me want to pick them. The greatest comeback in NFL history a few weeks ago. But I think the Giants are a team that is kind of locked and loaded to maybe having future playoff success. I just think maybe they're not, right now in that position. But I think, honestly, I'm just going to go out on a limb and maybe I'm going to pick the Giants, an upset. But I think it's going to be a really close game. I just think the Vikings kind of choke like this sometimes, like in the first round. And I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a good game. I think sort of similar to maybe other matchups. I think it might be a low-scoring game, but I do think that the Vikings' offense is very good, of course, with Justin Jefferson he's the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. So we'll see what happens. But I think, the Giants haven't been in this position in like 6-7 years at this point. I think 2016 they made the playoffs last. And so, honestly, yeah, give me the Giants. I'm going to pick an upset here.
The Vikings and Giants played just 3 weeks ago, and the Vikings beat the Giants by 3 points. It was 27-24. So it was a close game. We know the Giants are capable of keeping it close. That came a week after the greatest comeback in NFL history against the 4-win Indianapolis Colts. As much as I want to just kind of diminish slightly the Vikings comeback in that game, I can't really talk shit because, well, the Chiefs lost to the Colts somehow earlier this year. So I can't make fun of them because we lost to them. But it's funny, we're on the same page today, my friend, because I'm also taking the Giants for the same reason. It's what games on this schedule do I see fit to be an upset? And this one just screams upset. It has it all written, like all over this game. So absolutely, I'm taking New York. I'm taking New York over Minneapolis.
It's a good pick.
And we're 4 for 4 in agreement. I don't watch enough NFC to get into detail about Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones, but I think the Giants could very well upset that game.
Yeah, and not to be redundant, but another quarterback making a playoff debut, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so it's really crazy how many quarterbacks are just now like making their debuts, and we got Jalen Hurts are the number 1 seed, so he'll be playing, and as far as I know, it's the game we're going to talk about next. Actually, I don't think Lamar Jackson's playing. It doesn't seem like he's playing. He's not. He's officially ruled out. Okay.
It's Nick Huntley, I think.
So,
but
Tyler Huntley, is that who it is? Because there's a Tyler Huntley and a Brett Hundley. So like one of them has a T and the other has a D. So it's like Huntley. Yeah. It was the most confusing shit ever. For the longest time I thought it was the same guy, but no, they Tyler Huntley and a Brett Hundley. But it will be Tyler Huntley, and I am very doubtful that he's ever had playoff experience. So there you go, another quarterback making his playoff debut. How many is that now? We got Trevor, Herbert, Huntley, Thompson, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts. That's 8. That's 8 teams with quarterbacks that have never played in the playoffs before. That's wild. So it'll be fun. But Bengals-Ravens, how are we feeling about this?
Similar to the Dolphins-Bills game, I think it's going to be a pretty big win for the Bengals. I mean, it's a similar situation too. I mean, you have bright team, the Bengals, coming off a Super Bowl run last year that they definitely have a chip on their shoulder. They want to make it back. I mean, when you don't have Lamar Jackson, who I think, despite all the injuries and everything, I think you can make a case for top 5, maybe top 7, 8 quarterback in the NFL. I think at one point he was the best, and things have changed with all these new quarterbacks getting good. But I think not having him, Huntley has been solid. Like he's held the fort down. And the Ravens have good players, but I just think the Bengals, there's no way they lose this, and I think they're going to win this by probably like 2 or 3 touchdowns. I just think they're having a great year. I mean, they're the 3 seed for a reason, and I think you're playing a 6 seed. The Ravens are not going to have much luck on their side anyways. It's going to be a good atmosphere in Cincinnati, so we'll see.
And let's not forget these two teams played each other 5 whole days ago. 5 days ago, these teams played each other. It was a 27-16 win for the Bengals over the Ravens. So they beat the Ravens once, and they actually lost a game to the Ravens 19-17 in Week 5. That was early on in the Bengals season. They were struggling a little bit. I believe they started their season 3-3. Or actually, no, that's completely wrong. No, that's completely right. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they started their season actually 2-3 through 5 weeks. So it's that was early on in their struggles. Even then, they barely lost to the Ravens, and they had Lamar Jackson at that point. So just the difference between Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley is huge. So for that reason alone, yeah, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm absolutely taking the Bengals. I really think it is inevitable for the Bengals and Bills to have their game together after having the one 2 weeks ago canceled due to everybody knows Damar Hamlin. Again, unfortunate what happened, but it's just inevitable that these two teams get their game together. It's going to happen in round 2, and that's what will happen. The Ravens are another. This is another absolute lock for me. I don't see a way in hell the Ravens win this game.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I just think like ditto to what you said with the whole situation. And I think these two teams are almost like destined to play each other. And yeah, I mean the Ravens, like I said, it would be cool to see them win, kind of like how it'd be cool to see the Dolphins win. But just given the injuries, I feel like there's some matchups here that are just clearly one-sided. So, yeah, give me the bet.
All right, last game for the wild card round is going to be the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. And this could go a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I honestly think this game could go either way. The Cowboys started out this season really, really good. I feel like they've died down and kind of played some not so good football. I also feel like Dak Prescott, he's good, but I feel like he doesn't have the weapons he needs necessarily to have a really elite offense. CeeDee Lamb's good, but I feel like not at the point where they can have that elite offense just relying on him. And then the Buccaneers, a team that it's confusing how they were fortunate to have a very weak division, but also you really can't count out Tom Brady in the playoffs. I know last year he did lose, but he almost beat the Super Bowl winning Rams coming back from a crazy deficit. And so honestly, this isn't an upset because technically they're a better seed, but I feel like in a way it kind of is an upset just because I feel like the Bucs have been struggling. But I'm going to take the Bucs, and I'm going to say it's just going to be kind of a messy game, a lot of turnovers. But I think Brady just I can't see him losing in the first round or wild card round. I feel like he's going to prevail. And yeah, the Cowboys are a great team, but I feel like they've died down enough for me to not be super confident on how they're going to play.
I'm so glad you chose the Bucs because I'm going against you. I think the Cowboys are going to win. I don't think they're just going to win. I think they're going to win with ease. I am so sick and tired every year of hearing that everything is because of how good Tom Brady is. This is all because of Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. It's not because he has one of the best offenses in the league around him. No, it's because he's the GOAT at 45 years old. No, there's no denying that Brady's career accomplishments are fantastic, right? There's a very, very good reason that he's nicknamed the greatest of all time. But the old man's past his prime. Okay, I think this is common knowledge this year. As somebody who lives in Tampa, I am forced into watching a lot of the Bucs games. Okay, the Buccaneers are not good. They're not a good team. They're, in my opinion, the worst team to make the playoffs, and that's not even a hot take because they're the only team going into the playoffs with a losing record. They are in the playoffs with a losing record because of how terrible the NFC South was this year. It's pitiful that we have to watch this team in the playoffs. And as much as I am totally pro-Cowboy slander, as much as I love making fun of the Cowboys as much as the next guy, God, do I hope the Cowboys win this game, just so us fans don't have to suffer through a losing team making it to another playoff game. One is enough for y'all. Just enjoy it while it lasts, because there's no way. Listen, week 1, the opening week of the regular season, Bucs beat the Cowboys 19-3. That was 18 weeks ago. Okay, so that was completely different football. The Cowboys, they've died down a little bit, sure, but they've had their big wins. They really have. 54 Points over the Colts in Week 13, which is, listen, I get it's the Colts, but that's still 54 points you put up. You were the first team to hand. Were they the first team to hand the Eagles a loss? They might have been. They might have been the second. I don't really recall. But it was Week 16. They beat the Eagles 40-34. And the Eagles are a really great defensive team. That has been one of their great attributes this year is their defense. And to have the Cowboys score 40 on that defense, because it was Minshew in that game, not Hurts, but that's not indicative of that score because the defense is supposed to be really good. They gave up 40 to the Cowboys. And even when the Cowboys lost in overtime, Week 15 to Jacksonville Jaguars, still scored 34 points. And then in Week 17, they beat the Titans, who were holding on for a playoff spot, 27-13. And we're just going to pretend like last week against the Commanders didn't happen because that was quite pathetic on the Cowboys' end. But they're just better. They're better than the Buccaneers. 12-5 is better than 8-9. I hate to break it to you, but the Cowboys are great in comparison to the Buccaneers. I don't think the Cowboys are great in comparison to the Chiefs or the Eagles, but oh my God, it's just this will be fun to watch. If Tom Brady does win this game, so be it. I'll give you credit because that's where credit is due. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Tom Brady, we've seen him lose in the wild card before. Just last year as a Patriot, 2019. So that was only, 3 years ago? Yeah, it would have been 3 years ago he lost in the wild card. And I would even argue that the Buccaneers aren't even as good as their losing record indicates them to be. I remember that Rams game. I remember that Saints game, like when they played the Bucks, and the Bucks were held to 3 points all game until the fourth quarter came along, and then guess what happens? They have a 90-something% chance of losing, and then the Saints and Rams, they both say, all right, we'll make it easier for you guys. We're just going to play prevent defense for the last 5 minutes. And what's going to happen when you do that? When has prevent defense ever failed a team? So they should have even lost those 2 games. They should have, because there was a point where they were supposed to lose by 90-something%. They just make this incredible comeback. I say incredible, but really it's just a result of prevent defense not working, as it never does. But obviously that's all Tom Brady. That's all Tom Brady. Nobody else. It's not that the receivers around him. It's not that the team on defense is playing prevent. They're choking it away. It's all Tom Brady because he's the GOAT. That's all it is. So the Buccaneers, they should have been a 6-win team. Not an 8. It should have been a 6-win team, I would argue. At least. They got lucky a lot. And this game is not going to be fun for them, I fear. Except I don't fear it. I think it'll be fun to watch when it happens.
Yeah, and I think too, this game, we talked about this a little earlier, I think this game could be a big thing for Tom Brady, and maybe, if he does lose, the offseason's right there. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I think he wants to continue to play football for as long as he can. So if he loses here early on, especially like you said, if it's a beatdown, who knows what will happen with his future? Is he gonna be a Raider? Is he gonna stay with the Bucs? Who knows? So yeah, honestly, I think I want to pick the Cowboys because I think it's not only is it a safer pick, but I think it's more logical. But I just feel every time I've doubted Brady, and like you said, it's not just Brady, it's his team. Every time I doubt his team, it doesn't end well for me. So I'm gonna do reverse psychology here and just see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the first round. I guess we'll talk a little bit about how we feel about the 1 seeds next week. Let's just go ahead and give the Eagles their time. I think they're a great team. I think the reason they're great is because of their defense. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he's essentially just a copy of Lamar Jackson from what I've seen. And quarterbacks who just run all the time, they're more of a running back than they are a quarterback. It never really goes well after a couple of years. Look at what's happening with Lamar right now. He's dealing with injuries. It's the same thing that happened to Michael Vick. I don't want to be a negative Nancy and predict that, oh my God, Jalen Hurts is going to have an injury in a few years. No, I'm not here saying that. I'm just saying that it doesn't ever go well for running back quarterbacks late down the road, and they're never like, in my opinion, they're just not elite either, because it's like your strength should be your passing. That's why you're a quarterback. Your strength should be your passing. It shouldn't be having to rely on yourself running and running and running and running. Like, you can be a good run, you could be a fantastic scrambling quarterback. It doesn't mean that you're a fantastic overall quarterback. And Jalen Hurts, yeah, he makes good throws, but just runs too much, man. I just don't think he's in that elite realm. I think it's the defense carrying the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are poised for at least an NFC Championship game. So I think whoever they do play in the next round, if it's the Bucs or the Cowboys, absolutely, they will go to the NFC Championship. But
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I feel. Like I'm not like gonna full blown jump on the Eagles train and say, oh yep, they're going to the Super Bowl. But it'll be interesting to see where they go this year.
Yeah, and two, like, I mean, it's interesting because, yeah, he runs so much, and it's almost like ironic considering he's been gifted with A.J. Brown as wide receiver 1 and then Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner, as his wide receiver 2, basically. And, like you said, a great defense. So I think that's where their strengths come. I think they're probably, one of the most complete teams. I think definitely in the NFC, they're the most complete team. I think the Niners, maybe aside from, I think the Niners I'm going to go with I take that back. I think maybe the Niners are a little bit more complete. I think, of course, though, Hurts is better than Purdy. So we'll see, though. But I think, like we mentioned earlier, I think the Eagles are pretty much poised for an NFC Championship. I just think if they have to play San Francisco, I think things could go south. So we'll see. They're a great team. So who knows?
Now, hold your breath here. I hate to have you talk about the Chiefs, but it's unfortunately for you what has to happen now. The Kansas City Chiefs, and he's got a half Chiefs shirt on. There's a little Raider on there, but it's Chiefs too. How are you feeling about the Chiefs this year?
The Chiefs really surprised me. I feel like last year they surprised me too. I feel like whenever anyone doubts them, they play really, really good football, which is like honestly crazy because I thought this year the AFC West was up for grabs really for any team and in that division, and no, that was not true at all. The Chiefs just easily won it. And so, yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes is, I think it's almost stupid to point this out because it's so obvious, but yeah, his incredible play is what's leading them over, these teams pretty easily. And I think also they have a lot of bright spots that things I haven't really expected. Juju, he's not like, he's getting older. He's not like your typical great wide receiver anymore, but I think he is doing what he needs to do. And I've also been impressed with like Jerick McKinnon and like other guys like that. And there's been a lot of guys. Chris Jones is great. And so I think, Patrick Mahomes is like really I don't think he's like completely carrying the team in the sense that the team isn't good around him, but I think he's like definitely showing that like, yeah, you can take away Tyreek Hill and I have Travis Kelce still, but I don't have like the great fast receivers I have anymore. And I'm still going to do great things. And yeah, the Chiefs defense I think is good. I don't think it's like I think they've been known to have like sort of maybe not the greatest defense. But I think this year, like I've definitely been impressed. Even though I'm a Raiders fan, of course, I have to admire like the way that they can like pull out these games and like on like silence the doubters, because it's just like I would have never, and I'm being honest, I would have never guessed the Chiefs would have been the one. I thought for sure they're going to make the playoffs, but the 1 seed was not something I really expected, just given what I thought was going to be a hard division with Denver getting Russ and the Raiders getting Adams and the Chargers being the Chargers and getting J.C. Jackson and adding that to a pretty solid team. So I think, yeah, the Chiefs definitely have shocked me, but I'm also not surprised that they've been able to do this because last year was kind of the same story. So
I will admit, before the season began, I did not think the Chiefs would win the division. I thought that honor would go to the Chargers because the Chargers are really... The Raiders somehow usually sneak one win out of the Chiefs every year. Almost this year, too. It was really close. The Broncos are the Broncos. They never beat the Chiefs. The 15 straight that the Chiefs have beaten the Broncos. It was actually Peyton Manning was the last quarterback for the Broncos to beat the Chiefs.
You got 6 Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like, but the Chargers, though, like I don't really get that intimidated when we play the Raiders or Broncos. But when we play the Chargers, I just hold my breath the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, Herbert is so good. He's got a great core around him. This is gonna be a tough game. I was shocked we swept them this year. the Chiefs at the beginning of the season, based on the prior year's records for these teams that we were playing, the Chiefs statistically had the hardest schedule in NFL history to begin this season.
Wow.
Total fact. And I was just like, holy shit, if we can get through the first 6 or 7 weeks, because that was where it was the toughest, if we could just get through the first 6 or 7 weeks and be 500, I will be completely happy with that. For like 3-3, 3-4, 4-4, whatever, like I'll be completely happy with that, given the fact that every team in the AFC West, minus the Chiefs, upgraded as the Chiefs seemingly downgraded. So I was expecting to be a playoff team, of course, but 1 seed, never in my wildest dreams would I have expected that to happen this year. And a lot of people want to throw an asterisk on there because, the Bills game never was played. I'm not going to sit here and argue that the Bengals would have beaten the Bills. It seemed like it was trending that way, but I won't be the one to argue that. I think just based on what the Chiefs had to do to earn this 1 seed, even though it was close with the Bills at the end, is remarkable, and I think they do deserve it based on their accomplishments. Their top receivers, for God's sake, are Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman. I mean, guys that are like 2 and 3s on any other team in the league. They have Jerick McKinnon, who gets hardly any snaps until the second half of the season, and then suddenly he's our best wide receiver, even though he's a running back. And then you have guys on defense like Chris Jones who are performing way better than expected. You know, they're already great to begin with, but they're playing even greater than expected. And then it's just honestly, it all comes down to Patrick Mahomes. You're right. I really do believe that if this team did not have Patrick Mahomes, they are capable of maybe 8 wins. 7 or 8. I don't think they're a playoff team without Mahomes. He's really what makes the magic happen. It's just, to have a quarterback like him is truly special. And if he doesn't not only win the MVP, but if he doesn't win it by unanimous decision, something's wrong with the voters' heads. Because there's never been a more clear-cut winner of the Most Valuable Player award than right now. It is Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs, they lose Tyreek Hill. Who cares? They get the 1 seed. It's insane. It's insane. Despite losing Tyreek Hill, losing some key pieces, having second and third string receivers as your number ones, and then having statistically the hardest schedule in NFL history and having the 1 seed. That is incredible. They absolutely deserve this 1 seed, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Chiefs fan because in a year that was supposed to be a rebuild, they get the 1 seed and they're one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. It's insane.
No, definitely. I mean, we'll have to see. I guess a question for you is, like, you have the Bengals in the playoffs in the mix of it. You have even like a hot team right now like the Jaguars, and then of course the Bills. Which team are you most scared to play as like a Chiefs fan?
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen, or at least what I am very confident is going to happen. The Bills and Bengals, like I said, are going to inevitably play each other, and that is fantastic for the Chiefs. What would have really sucked is if the Bills got the 1 seed, and then the Chiefs would have had to play both the Bills and Bengals. That's what would have sucked. Because I'm telling you right now, the Chiefs lost to both those teams this regular season. It was 3 points both games, but still, there is 0 chance the Chiefs would have beaten both those teams. Okay? So the Chiefs are likely only going to play one of these teams. And if it does happen, it will be the AFC Championship game. But I'm feeling a lot better about playing one of those teams than both those teams. I think what's going to happen is the Bills and Bengals are going to inevitably play each other. And I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Chargers. So this is what's going to happen. The Jaguars are going to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium next week. And the Chiefs just beat the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago pretty handily, pretty swiftly. And yeah, I admit it. Jaguars are one of the hottest teams in football. Doesn't really scare me because the Chiefs already showed that they're not scared of them. And when that happens and the Chiefs play the Jaguars, I think the Chiefs will win that game and head to their 5th straight AFC Championship game. I think that is going to happen. This is where it gets scary, is when the Bills or Bengals end up playing the Chiefs. I'll tell you right now, prior to the Damar Hamlin injury, I would have told you it probably Bengals Chiefs. Because the Bengals, in my eyes, look like the most complete team in the AFC. I believe that. They're just a scary force defensively and offensively. As much as I hate to admit this, Joe Burrow, he's legit. As much as he's pissed me off this last year, he's legit, and he's not somebody to take lightly. But because of the Damar Hamlin injury, I think that's just all the motivation and inspiration that the Bills need to beat whoever the hell they need to. So I think, and this is getting way ahead of ourselves, I'm looking at a Bengals-Bills and then a Chiefs-Jaguars divisional, and then I'm looking at a Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship at Atlanta, Georgia, because if that happens, that will be played there as a neutral site. That's the NFL's solution to having that canceled game, but I do think that's what's going to happen. And whether or not the Chiefs win that game, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. Just, we're going to have to talk about it if/when that happens in 2 weeks, because I'll tell you right now, I'll be pissing myself. The Bills have lost to the Chiefs in 2 straight playoff games, including a game in which they took a lead with 13 seconds left and should have won that game. They should have. If they would have squib kicked it, they would have won it. But it's just, if it does end up being Chiefs-Bills, I will probably, unfortunately, tell you that the Bills will win. Only because, A, the inspiration that was built around Damar Hamlin, and B, how often can a good team continue to lose to another good team year in, year out? There is going to be a point in time where the king is dethroned. And with everything that's gone on in the past couple of weeks, I think this year is probably the most likely of ever for the Bengals to dethrone the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I think if it is Chiefs-Bills, as of right now, I'll probably tell you I think the Bills will win that. But we have time. We have time to get to it. Who knows? Maybe it will be Bills-Chiefs. Maybe it'll be Bengals-Chiefs, and we won't even have to think about the Bills. I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to be Bills-Chiefs. I hope it's Bengals-Chiefs. I hope it's Bengals-Chiefs. Just because the whole... Let me tell you what. Josh Allen plays some of his statistical best games ever against the Chiefs. I don't know why. Every other game he plays, he's just like he's an above-average quarterback, but he's not like elite. He hasn't been elite since he's played the Chiefs in like week 6 or whatever, in my eyes at least. He's made a lot of mistakes, thrown a fair amount of picks, turned the ball over a fair amount of times. He hasn't been an elite quarterback. But he just plays elite every single time he plays the Chiefs. Can't explain it. That's why if the Chiefs do play the Bills in the AFC Championship, I'm almost kind of glad it's in Atlanta instead of Kansas City because of the fact that Josh Allen just owns the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. I can't explain it. It just happens. Also, Mahomes is statistically better as a road quarterback, so I think it would be better for the Chiefs if it were played at Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But I do hope it is Bills-Chiefs because, again, I talk about how often, how consistently can one good team continue to lose to another good team in the playoffs year in and year out. It's the same thing with the Chiefs and Bengals. How often can we continue to lose to the Bengals? There just has to be a point where enough is enough and the Chiefs finally beat them. And I think that's why I would rather have the Bengals. But I'll tell you right now, I would be a lot more pissed off if we lost to the Bengals rather than losing to the Bills. So what I want to happen, Bengals-Chiefs. What I think will happen, Bills-Chiefs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I guess we'll have to see because it's going to be eventful. Especially, I mean, dare I say, if there are any upsets, but I don't think there will be, but we'll see. So who knows? And yeah, it would just, especially be interesting if the Chargers somehow can beat, and then that kind of complicates things. I think that the Chiefs still win, but who knows? It's just crazy when divisional matchups occur in the playoffs. I feel like it's a lot more. The stakes are higher, obviously. So I feel like the teams, really can go either way. So yeah, definitely agree.
All right. So before we go ahead and shut this off, let's hear your pre-playoff Super Bowl pick.
That's a tough question, but I think if I had to choose right now, I'm gonna go Buffalo and 49ers. And I got Buffalo winning it, and nothing against the Chiefs, but I kind of agree with what you said. Just given, what's happened with them and how close they've gotten, especially how close they got to beating the Chiefs last year. And then with the Niners, I feel like it's crazy to say this, but yeah, if they do make it to the Super Bowl, that's going to be like something crazy, like 13 straight wins or something. 12. I don't know. I don't know what they're at right now, but I think the Bills are just destined to win it at this point. But we'll see. I mean, honestly, I think the AFC playoff picture is like a lot more difficult, just given you have three teams that I think could actually legitimately make it: Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And then, whereas I feel like right now in the NFC, it's definitely going to be a toss up between Philly and the Niners. So, yeah, I got Bills over Niners, but that's a way too early prediction. We'll see what happens.
I I was leaning towards Bills over Niners myself, but I think the more I think about it, if it comes down to Eagles and 49ers, they're the both. I think it will. I think it'll be Niners and Eagles in the NFC Championship, and if that does happen, I think because both teams are so complete, it will come down to who has the better quarterback, and I just think Jalen Hurts is far and away better than Brock Purdy, because Jalen Hurts has actually had to prove himself. Purdy just has a fantastic team around him, so I would say as of right now, I'm taking Bills over Eagles in the Super Bowl.
That's a good pick. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, well, that's going to do it. We'll catch you next week for the divisional preview. We'll see how everything plays out this week. It's going to be a great weekend. Love this time of year. It's always the best. You got playoff football, so much at stake. It's just this is just the epitome of America. It really is. This is our culture. It's just the best time of year for us. So,
Yeah.
we'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Casey, thanks for joining me again. It's going to be great to do this as the remainder of the playoffs go on. Peace out. Peace out. See you next week.
See you guys.